The Curse of the Talking Drum. Episode 1. The Forbidden Sound. The village of Abanla lay quiet beneath the moonlight, its thatched huts forming neat clusters around the great Iroko tree in the village square. By day, laughter filled the air, drums echoed during festivals, and children raced each other barefoot on red earth. But at night, the village belonged to silence. Silence, except for the soft hum of insects, and the heartbeat of the sacred drum locked in the king's hut. The elders said the drum was older than the village itself. It was carved from the heart of an Iroko tree, its skin stretched with the hide of a lion long since gone. Only the king, the custodian of traditions, was allowed to strike it, and only once a year during the Festival of Ancestors. But children are creatures of curiosity, and no child was more curious than Olaolu, son of a widow who sold palm oil at the market. Olaolu loved stories, but more than stories, he loved testing what grown-ups called forbidden. That night, as the village slept, Olaolu crept barefoot through the shadows. His eyes darted left and right, his heart beating faster than his feet. He had heard whispers among the other boys. They say if you beat the sacred drum at night, the spirits will come to answer you. Olaolu wanted to know if it was true. He slipped past the guards dozing outside the king's hut. The moonlight fell across the polished wooden surface of the drum. It was magnificent. Larger than a man's chest, its carvings telling stories of battles, harvests, and ancient rituals. The boy's fingers trembled as he touched the hide. It was warm, unnaturally warm, as if alive. He swallowed hard, just once. No one will know. Olaolu raised his small palm and struck. Doom! The sound was not like any drumbeat he had heard before. It rolled across the village like thunder, deep and commanding, shaking the very air. Olaolu staggered back, his heart leaping into his throat. The walls flickered with shadows, though no fire burned. Then came the voice, deep, echoing, neither male nor female, yet filling every corner of the hut. You have awakened me. Olaolu froze. His lips parted, but no words came out. His knees weakened. The drum pulsed again, though he had not touched it. Dome! From this night your hands are bound to me. You struck, and so you must answer. Refuse me, and I will take what is mine. The boy stumbled backward, his chest heaving. He bolted out of the hut, sprinting through the square until he collapsed in his mother's arms. She rubbed his back, whispering, "Bad dreams, my child." Just bad dreams, but Olaolu knew better. For in the distance, though the night was still, the sacred drum beat once more, softly, ominously, as if laughing, "Dome!" And the moon seemed to sink lower in the sky.
That night, sleep refused to touch Olaolu's eyes. He tossed and turned on the raffia mat, listening to the crickets outside. His mother had long since drifted into slumber, her gentle snores filling the room. But Olaolu's mind was heavy, his heart pounding like a trapped bird. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw the drum. The carving seemed alive in his memory, the lion roaring, the serpent coiling, the faceless figures that danced in the firelight of his imagination. And above all, he remembered the voice, that voice that was not human, not spirit, but something in between. You have awakened me. Suddenly, a cold wind swept through the hut, rattling the small calabash bowls on the shelf. Olaolu shivered and pulled his wrapper tighter. Then he heard it. Boy. The whisper was low, yet it seemed to come from everywhere. Olaolu sat up, his breath sharp. His mother stirred slightly but did not wake. Boy, you struck the drum. You owe me a task. Olaolu pressed his hands to his ears. No, leave me, he whispered, trembling. There is no leaving. Bring me a sacrifice, or I will take what is mine. The voice grew deeper, echoing like thunder inside his skull. Olaolu bit his lip to keep from crying out. Then, as suddenly as it came, the voice was gone. Silence pressed in once more. But silence did not bring peace. The next morning, the village square erupted in chaos. Women stood around the dry well, their pots empty, their voices sharp with panic. The water is gone, one cried. I came before dawn, and not a drop, shouted another. The gods are angry, an elder muttered, shaking his head. Men lowered gourds tied to ropes into the well, but they returned dry as bone. Children wailed, their mouths parched, while goats bleated in thirst. Olaolu's stomach twisted, his mind raced back to the voice. Bring me a sacrifice, or I will take what is mine. His chest felt heavy, as though the weight of the entire village had fallen on him. He wanted to tell his mother. But when he opened his mouth, the words clung to his throat like thorns. What if she thought he was mad? What if she told the elders and they punished him for breaking the taboo? So Olaolu remained silent, his wide eyes watching as fear spread like fire through Obanla. That night, as the villagers murmured in confusion, Olaolu lay awake again. And just when he thought the voice had left him, it returned. Closer this time, whispering right at his ear. 3 nights, boy, 3 nights to give me what I demand. Refuse and I will take more than water. Olaolu clutched his blanket, his body shaking. The moonlight through the thatch cast strange shapes on the wall. Shapes that looked like hands reaching for him. He buried his face in his knees. The drum had spoken, and now it wanted more. By the second day without water, Obanla was restless. Children cried with cracked lips. Women argued at the well, their empty clay pots knocking against each other. Even the animals staggered, their tongues dry. The king called an emergency meeting at the Iliogboni, the hut where the elders gathered. The villagers crowded outside, murmuring. Inside, the air was thick with kola nut smoke as the elders sat in a circle, their walking sticks planted firmly on the ground. Olaolu's mother dragged him along, though he wished to hide. He sat quietly behind her, staring at the floor. The eldest among them, Baba Ifajimi, cleared his throat. His voice was slow, like a man who had seen too many seasons. Something has been disturbed, he said, his eyes scanning the faces before him. The drawing of the well is no accident. This is the work of powers not meant to be awakened. The others nodded gravely. A younger elder asked, "But who has meddled? Who has broken the balance?" Baba Ifajimi's eyes, clouded with age, fell directly on Olaolu. The boy flinched. "Olaolu," the elder said slowly. "Step forward." The boy's legs trembled as he obeyed. His mother frowned, whispering, "He is only a child. What could he know?" But Baba Ifajimi tapped his staff on the floor. "Answer me truthfully, child. Did you touch the sacred drum?" The room fell silent. Even the crickets outside seemed to pause. Olaolu's throat went dry. He wanted to deny it, but the memory of the voice pressed on his chest like a heavy stone. Tears welled in his eyes. He nodded. Gasps filled the hut. Some elders clutched their amulets. One woman cried, "Eh! The child has doomed us all." His mother's eyes widened in horror. She grabbed his arm. "Why, Olaolu? Why would you do such a thing?" I only wanted to hear it," Olaolu whispered, his voice shaking. "Just once, I didn't know." Baba Ifajimi leaned forward, his eyes sharp despite the cloudiness of age. "Foolish child, the sacred drum is not for curiosity. It does not only call ancestors, it stirs the forgotten spirits, spirits that hunger." Another elder muttered, "The ancestors warned us never to strike it except during the festival. The drum is both a bridge and a trap." The king, his face stern, rose to his feet. "The boy's mistake has brought danger upon us all. Now we must find a way to appease what has been awakened before it destroys us." Olaolu's knees buckled and he dropped to the floor. His small voice shook as he pleaded, "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to harm anyone." But Baba Ifajimi's words cut like a blade. "Sorry cannot close a door that has already been opened. You must be ready, child. The spirit will not stop at water." Outside, the crowd began to whisper in panic. Mothers clutched their children, men shook their heads. The name on every tongue was the same, Olaolu. That night, the boy sat in the corner of his hut, hugging his knees. His mother wept silently beside the fire, refusing to look at him. And when the wind rose, rattling the thatch roof, the voice returned once more. "The elders know, but they cannot save you. 3 nights remain. Bring me what I asked for, or I will take more than water and crops. I will take blood." The flames flickered, casting long shadows on the wall. Olaolu shivered. The elders had warned him, but warnings could not undo what had already begun.
The moon rose swollen and red above Obanla, casting an uneasy glow across the village. The people slept fitfully, their dreams troubled by whispers they could not remember when morning came. But Olaolu did not dream. He could not. He lay awake, clutching his blanket, waiting for the voice, and it came. "Boy." The sound slithered through the hut like smoke, chilling him to his bones. "You stirred me from my slumber. Now you will serve me. 3 nights remain. Listen well. Bring me the blood of a goat before the 3rd moon sets, or the village will know suffering." Olaolu's heart pounded. He wanted to scream, but the voice pressed against him, heavy and suffocating. "Do not test me. The goat or worse will follow, then silence." But the silence was worse, because it left him alone with fear. By dawn, the village woke to devastation. The fields of yam and cassava had withered overnight. Leaves curled like fists, their stalks shriveled and dry. Farmers fell to their knees in disbelief. Women wailed. Hungry goats bleated at the withered crops. The people gathered in the king's courtyard, shouting in panic, "The gods are punishing us! What shall we eat?" This is the end of Obanla. The king raised his staff, demanding silence. His face was grave. Something evil has been awakened. We must act. He turned to the elders, who murmured among themselves before Baba Ifajimi spoke. The spirit has begun its demands. It asked for sacrifice. The crowd gasped. Mothers pulled their children close. Men exchanged uneasy glances. What kind of sacrifice? The king asked, his voice steady, though his eyes betrayed worry. Baba Ifajimi's gaze fell on Olaolu, who stood trembling behind his mother. "Tell them, boy. Tell them what it wants." Olaolu's lips trembled. He lowered his head. It asked for a goat. Before the third moon, shouts erupted. Some cried in relief. "A goat only? That is nothing!" While others spat in anger. "And if we give the goat, what then? Will it not ask for more?" The king's jaw tightened. No spirit dictates to Obanla. We bow to no shadow. His words rang strong, but his people were not convinced. Fear gnawed at their hearts. That night, the air was thick with unease. Mothers hushed their children. Men sharpened their machetes, though no enemy could be fought. Olaolu sat outside his hut, staring at the moon. His mother knelt beside him, her hand on his shoulder. "My son," she whispered, "tell me the truth. Do you believe it will stop with the goat?" Olaolu shook his head, tears glistening in his eyes. "No, Mama, it will not stop. The drum is hungry." And in the silence that followed, the drum seemed to answer from the king's hut, faint but unmistakable. Doom, doom. The sound carried across the sleeping village like the footsteps of something coming closer.
The morning after the drum's echo rolled across the night, a strange stillness blanketed Obanla. The birds did not sing. The goats refused to graze. Even the wind seemed to wait, as if the air itself was listening. The villagers gathered in the square, whispering about what to do. Some wanted to offer the goat as the spirit demanded. Others said to ignore it, to show strength. Fear clung to every word like cobwebs. Then, from the forest path came the sound of drumming. Not the deep call of the sacred drum, but a lighter, rhythmic beat. Quick, sure, almost playful. The villagers turned as one. Out of the dust emerged a man. He was tall and lean, his dark skin gleaming under the sun. His hair was twisted into short locks, and his clothes were worn from long travel. On his back hung a drum, smaller than the sacred one but beautifully crafted, wrapped in cowhide and cowrie shells. He smiled faintly as he approached. "I heard the drum call from far away," he said. "It woke me from dreams I had long buried." The crowd parted uneasily. Some stepped back. Others stared wide-eyed. The king frowned. "Who are you, traveler?" The man bowed slightly. "They call me a Kane. I am a drummer of the wandering roads, a seeker of the old rhythms. When the sacred drum speaks, I listen." The elders exchanged wary glances. Baba Ifajimi's voice was low and cautious. "You speak boldly, stranger. Do you know what that drum truly is?" Akini's eyes glimmered. The crowd gasped. The king's gaze hardened. "Silence it, even we dare not touch it." Ekene smiled faintly. "Then you are already its prisoners." His words cut through the square like a blade. Some of the younger men bristled. One stepped forward. "You insult the king of Obanla." Ekene turned to him calmly. "I insult no one. But when a spirit grows hungry, you do not argue with it. You feed it, or you outplay it." He tapped his drum softly, and the sound rippled like wind through leaves. Olaolu watched from behind his mother. Something in the stranger's voice stirred him. Not comfort, but courage. The king stepped down from his stool, his expression torn between pride and desperation. "If you truly believe you can help, then prove it. What does the drum demand next?" Ekene closed his eyes for a moment. "It has already taken your water and your harvest. Soon it will ask for blood. But it is not yet too late." Baba Ifajimi's brow furrowed. "You mean we can stop it?" Ekene nodded. "Yes, if the boy who awakened it is willing to face it." All eyes turned to Olaolu. The boy's breath caught in his chest. He could feel the ground beneath him shift. "Me," he whispered. Ekene nodded slowly. "The drum knows your touch. Only your rhythm can answer it. But you will not stand alone. I will drum beside you." The boy hesitated. "And if we fail," Ekene's smile faded, "then Obanla will fall into the mouth of the forgotten spirits." and the ancestors themselves will weep." The villagers murmured in fear. The king looked to the horizon, where the wind carried a low, distant sound. Dome. The sacred drum was calling again, and this time it was louder. The following evening, the entire village gathered beneath the Iroko tree. The air was heavy with fear, and the scent of palm oil lamps floated on the breeze. No laughter, no chatter, just the low hum of dread. The sacred drum had spoken again during the night. Its thunder had rolled across the roofs, echoing even in dreams. The message was clear: the goat, or more suffering. The king stood before his people, flanked by the elders. His face looked older than it had a week ago. The spirit had stolen his sleep, his authority trembling like a leaf. "Tonight," the king said, "we shall give the offering. Let the spirit take what it demands, and may it leave us in peace." From the crowd, 2 men dragged a trembling white goat. Its bleats pierced the silence, sharp and pitiful. The villagers murmured prayers under their breath. Olaolu watched with wide eyes from beside his mother. His stomach churned. Beside the king stood Ekene, the wandering drummer, his small drum slung over his shoulder. His face was calm, unreadable. "Do you truly believe this will be enough?" The king asked him quietly. Ekene shook his head. "It will silence the hunger for a while, but not forever. The drum feeds on fear. It grows stronger with every offering." The king frowned. "Then why do we still offer it?" Ekene's eyes turned toward the sacred hut. "Because fear makes slaves of men." At Baba Ifejimi's command, the goat was brought to the foot of the king's hut where the sacred drum rested. A young priestess, trembling, held a calabash of palm wine and sprinkled it on the ground. She whispered, "Spirits of the forgotten, take this offering and spare Obanla." Then, with one swift motion, the goat's throat was cut. Blood pooled into a clay bowl and was poured onto the earth before the drum. The air grew still. The only sound was the rhythmic tapping of Ekene's fingers on his drum. Steady, deliberate, like a heartbeat. Then, nothing. For the first time in many nights, the air felt light. The villagers exhaled in relief. Someone whispered, "It is done." Another muttered, "The well will flow again." And indeed, when morning came, the well was full. The crops, once withered, began to green. Children laughed again. Life seemed to return. But not for long. That night, Olaolu dreamed again. The same dark hut, the same drum. But this time, the voice did not whisper. It growled. "You think a goat will fill the emptiness you awoke? You think blood of beasts can quench a spirit's thirst? Foolish boy." Olaolu fell to his knees, crying. "Please, I gave you what you wanted." "No, what I want is you." He awoke with a scream. His mother rushed to his side, clutching his face. "Olaolu, what is it?" He stared past her, his eyes wide. "Mama, it said next time it will be human." Outside, thunder rumbled, though the sky was clear. In the distance, the sacred drum answered. "Doom, doom, dome." The days that followed were heavy and strange. Though the wells had refilled and the crops had begun to grow again, a shadow still hung over Obanla. It was not the spirit this time. It was fear. Fear sat in every hut. It whispered in every ear. It twisted the hearts of men and women alike. And slowly it began to take shape, pointing its crooked finger at one boy. Olaolu, it started with whispers. They say he still hears the voice. The drum calls his name. Perhaps if we send him away, the spirit will follow. Olaolu could feel their eyes on him as he walked through the village. Mothers pulled their children close. Men who once greeted him now turned away. Even his friends avoided him, afraid the curse might cling to them. One evening, as the sun dipped low, Baba Ifejimi visited the king's hut. His expression was grave. "The spirit's hunger will return," he warned. "And when it does, it will demand more than a goat. The boy must be protected, or..." The king's voice was weary, or sacrificed. The old man closed his eyes. "If it is between one life and the lives of many." Outside the hut, a shadow moved. Olaolu had been passing by, and the words struck him like arrows. He froze. His heart pounded. Sacrificed, he ran. He ran past the huts, past the market square, past the Iroko tree where children once played. He stopped only when he reached the edge of the forest, where the air smelled of old secrets and decay. There, he collapsed to his knees. "Why me?" he whispered. "What did I do to deserve this?" But the forest had no answers. Behind him, footsteps approached. He turned sharply, expecting the elders, but it was Ikena. The wandering drummer stood in the dim light, his drum slung across his shoulder. His expression was calm but sorrowful. "They're afraid," he said. "Fear makes even good people cruel." Olaolu looked up, his face streaked with tears. "They want to kill me." Ikena nodded slowly. "Perhaps, but remember, spirits feed on fear and blood alike. If they spill yours, the drum will only grow stronger." Olaolu clenched his fists. "Then what do we do?" Ikene knelt beside him. "We face it together. You and I must speak to the drum before it speaks again." But before the boy could respond, the sound of shouting echoed from the village. Torches flickered in the darkness. "They're coming for you," Akini said softly. Indeed, the men of Obanla were gathering with ropes and machetes. Their faces were set with desperation. "Find the boy," someone shouted, "before the spirit demands him itself." Olaolu's mother cried, trying to block their path. "He's just a child," she pleaded, but they pushed her aside. When the mob reached the forest's edge, they saw Ekin standing before them, his drum ready in his hands. "Go home," he warned. "Your fight is not with this boy." But they kept coming. Akine's eyes narrowed. He lifted his drum and struck it once. Doom! The sound was so deep it seemed to shake the ground. The torches flickered violently, and several men stumbled back in terror. Then he struck it again. Doom! The trees around them groaned, and shadows seemed to stretch unnaturally long. A few men dropped their weapons and fled. "Cowards," Iken spat. "You fear what you do not understand." He turned to Olaolu. "Come. The time has come to face the spirit." "No more running," the boy hesitated. "But how do we fight something we can't see?" Ikene smiled faintly. "By remembering who we are. By drumming louder than our fear." And together, under the rising moon, they walked back toward the village, toward the hut where the sacred drum waited. The drum that had awakened something ancient. The drum that was waiting for them.
Night descended on Obanla, heavier than ever before. Clouds swallowed the moon, and not even the crickets dared to sing. Inside the king's hut, Olaolu and Ishin sat before the sacred drum, the cursed heart of the village. Olaolu's hands shook. "It feels alive," he whispered. "It is," Ekin said softly. "A spirit was bound inside it long ago, one that feeds on fear. But tonight, we will starve it." He placed his smaller drum beside the sacred one and looked at the boy. "When it speaks, don't stop drumming. Fear gives it strength, rhythm gives us power." Olaolu nodded, though his pulse already raced like a drum of its own. The flames in the hut flickered low. Then, suddenly, doom. The sacred drum struck first. The ground trembled. The shadows on the walls twisted into faces. A deep voice filled the air, echoing from nowhere and everywhere at once. "You dare challenge me, child? You who woke me from my sleep?" Olaolu froze. His heart hammered. Akin began to play. Tack-tack, tack-tack, tack-tack. A steady beat, strong and sure. The spirit laughed, its voice like thunder. The sacred drum roared in answer. Doom, doom, doom. The lamps shattered. The fire died. Moonlight poured through the thatched roof like silver smoke. Play. Ekin shouted. Ola, O-L-U. Struck the drum, awkward at first, then faster, matching Ekin's rhythm. Tack-to-tack, tack-to-tack, tack-to-tack. Each beat seemed to push the darkness back, yet the air thickened, heavy with unseen hands. The spirit screamed, "Stop, boy! You cannot command me!" But Olaolu's fear turned to fire. "You don't control me anymore?" he cried, drumming with all his strength. The rhythm grew wild, two hearts drumming against the storm. Outside, the villagers gathered, watching lightning crack across the sky. Inside, Akina's drum split open with a sharp crack. Blood dripped from his fingers, yet he kept drumming, shouting, "Ended, Olaolu." Now, Olaolu raised both hands high and slammed them down. Doom. A burst of light exploded through the hut. The voice of the spirit broke apart in a scream that faded into the night wind. When the glow vanished, the sacred drum was split down the middle, smoke curling from its core. The shadows were gone. Ishan collapsed, breathing weakly. Olalu rushed to his side. "We did it," he whispered. Isayan smiled faintly. "You did. But remember, fear never dies, boy. It only sleeps." Outside, rain began to fall, soft and steady, washing the dust of fear from Obanla. The villagers lifted their faces to the sky. For the first time in many moons, there was peace, and no drum answered the rain. Morning broke over Obanla with quiet wonder. For the first time in months, the sun rose without thunder, without fear. The rain had washed the land clean, and with it, the curse. But peace came with a cost. Inside the king's hut, Akin lay pale and weak. His hands were wrapped in cloth, his drum shattered beside him. Olalo sat by his side, exhausted, staring at the cracked sacred drum. The king entered slowly. "The people are free," he said. "The spirit is gone. You saved Obanla." Olalu didn't look up. "We saved it. Together." The old drummer coughed softly. "Don't waste your breath on me, boy," he murmured. "My journey ends where yours begins." Ololo's throat tightened. "Don't say that." Ikin smiled faintly. "Every drummer knows when one rhythm ends, another begins. The drum chose you long before I arrived. You must protect what remains." He pointed weakly to the cracked sacred drum. "Take it to the forest of echoes. Lay it to rest, where no hands can ever wake it again." The king frowned. "The forest is forbidden. No one who enters returns." But Ololo's eyes hardened. "If that's where the drum belongs, then that's where I'll go." That night the boy set out alone. The moon followed him through the trees as he carried the broken drum on his back. The forest was alive with whispers, leaves rustling like voices, roots curling like snakes. He walked until the path disappeared, until even the moonlight could not reach him. Then he heard it faint, like a dying heartbeat. Doom, doom. The drum, it was calling again. Ololu stopped. His hands trembled. "No," he whispered. "You're done." "Boy," the voice sighed, "weak but still dangerous, we can be one. I can give you power beyond fear. Just play one more time." Olo's heart raced. For a moment the thought tempted him to be strong, untouchable, never afraid again. Then he remembered Ekene's words, "Fear never dies. It only sleeps." He took a deep breath, lifted the drum, and placed it before an ancient tree, its roots shaped like open arms. "I don't need your power," he said softly. "I have my own." And with that, he struck the drum one last time, not in fear, not in anger, but in farewell. Doom. The sound echoed through the forest, then faded into silence. The drum cracked completely, turning to ash in his hands. Olalu fell to his knees. The wind rose gently, warm and calm like a sigh of relief. When he returned to Abanlaw days later, the villagers gathered to greet him. The king placed his hand on the boy's shoulder. "The curse is gone, but the memory remains. You've done what no man before you could." Ololu looked to the sky where the clouds drifted peacefully. "Not because I was fearless," he said, "but because I was afraid and still moved forward." Seasons passed, the rains returned in their time, and Obanla began to heal. New crops rose from the earth. Laughter returned to the market. Yet even in peace, whispers of the curse lingered like fading smoke. Every few nights the elders gathered beneath the great Iroko tree, telling stories of how Olalu, the boy once feared, had faced the spirit that silenced even the bravest men. But Ololu himself lived quietly. He spent his days by the river, carving small drums for children, teaching them how to play not for war or fear, but for joy. He told them, "A drum carries the heart of its player. If your heart is clean, your sound will bring light." One evening, the king invited him to the palace. The years had made the ruler humble. His crown seemed lighter, his voice softer. "Ololo," he said, "the people call you the drummer of dawn. You restored balance to our land. Tell me, What should we do with the memory of the cursed drum? Olalu looked toward the forest beyond the village, where mist hung like breath. We remember it, he said, but we do not fear it. The past must be told, not hidden. The king nodded, then speak. Let the story live. At the next full moon, the entire village gathered around a great fire. Drums beat softly, not in warning, but in celebration. Children sat at Olowo's feet as he began to tell the story, their story. He spoke of greed, of fear, of the voice that rose from darkness. He spoke of courage, of unity, and of the choice to face what others ran from. When he finished, silence fell. Then, slowly, the people began to drum. One rhythm, one heartbeat. And for the first time, the sound that filled the night wasn't a curse, it was freedom. Years later, when Ololu grew old, the people of Obanla built a shrine near the river. Inside it lay a small drum carved by his own hands, its skin smooth and bright. They called it the Drum of Memory. No one worshipped it, and no one feared it. It was simply there, a reminder of the day a boy taught his people that courage does not come from power, but from heart. On the night Ololu's spirit passed, the wind carried a faint rhythm through the trees. Tacta, tacta, tacta. Some say it was just the wind. Others say it was the forest, remembering the boy who silenced the darkness with his drum. Either way, Obana slept in